Welcome. Thank you for checking out this video training. Hopefully you're here because you're a gym owner or you're in the fitness industry, maybe you're a coach, you're in the wellness sector of some kind, and you are looking to not just grow your business, but maybe offer a far more valuable service than you're already offering. Um, which also kind of points to that you're probably looking to mature as a fitness coach or as a fitness gym owner, right? Um, so I want to share a little bit about my experience as from, I used to own a gym for about 8 years, but I've been a coach for sort of 10 to 12. And I've also now I've stepped into the world of business mentorship and helping kind of pay it back to kind of owners, because despite what people kind of think and believe, every gym owner faces all the same problems. And I probably naively thought that, like, as time goes on and this information is like slowly kind of, I guess, leaking from mentorship companies into the industry, you kind of assume that people pick up on these strategies and implement them, but apparently they don't. So, without condemning anyone, let's just kind of get into it. I'm going to teach you. It's quite a lot of text to get through, and hopefully, also by this, you're going to see that, like, this is a Google Doc. This is just literally a Google Doc, right? You don't need to have any kind of like extravagant platform to get great results from clients. So if you're in your business and you are spending, hundreds of pounds every month on software to deliver coaching to people beyond the four walls of a gym, this is hopefully going to break that for you as well. Because this is a really simple way to demonstrate what I did to my gym that grew it, but also pretty much doubled the kind of impact that we were having on clients themselves. So I want to share that back with you today. If you stick with me, there's a good framework at the end that's going to help you actually teach your clients with, I'm going to arm you with what you need to basically support them. So when you start improving the value of your service, you're actually able to deliver that value with a model, like a framework and a model that's going to deliver them identity level change, which is going to almost like justify the increased cost that you're obviously going to add on to your gym and your services or your coaching package, whatever it is. So look, let's get into it. I got to a point in my business ownership journey where I thought, this is it, right? And I remember really clearly, it was like 5 o'clock in the evening one night, and I was pretty much done for the day. I was about to go home, which is funny because obviously 5 o'clock in a gym, right? This is the peak time that the gym's going to be busy, and I was literally about to leave. So there was already that. I was like, this is ace. Like, I'm going to be home by 5:30. I'm going to be having dinner with my partner at the time. I'm going to be doing whatever I want to do in the evening, going to bed early, and just getting some me time. It's going to be great. We had like 120 members. Classes were busy. I was looking around the gym, and we had a coach in the corner with a PT. You had another coach with a speciality group. I had another coach doing a group CrossFit class. I had a nutrition coach upstairs on our mezzanine delivering a one-to-one. I had sports therapist in the office delivering a one-to-one, and I had my gym manager taking on a no sweat intro. So literally onboarding a new client in the reception area as I'm about to leave as the owner. So like, I was looking around and being like, this is ace, right? The place had such a great energy about it. And people knew who we were. Like, in the kind of the CrossFit space is small. People knew who we were. We were a host facility for the level 1 and level 2 seminars. And so from the outside, like, everything looked really successful. But from the inside, although I was leaving that night with, a real full heart and being like, I've made it, every month just kind of like felt like I was holding like a leaking bucket together with my bare hands. Because in order to get to that point, it required so much effort from me in like in the 20 hours I spent working on my business by that point every week, which isn't a lot, right? I was very fortunate that I only had to work 20 hours a week kind of on my business at the kind of the most. It just felt like it was so much effort, because even though I had a good team of coaches and I was able to coach my coaches really, really well, they needed managing. Their spirit, their personalities, their boundaries or lack of boundaries, like their behavior, it all needed managing. Every client issue that ever popped up needed me to resolve it, because almost like they didn't trust themselves to do the things I'd given them with the clients, because they hadn't been through the same experiences that I had been through. And most people will know in the industry that like most coaches are pretty, let's say, disagreeable, right? They're kind of stubborn. They work from their ego, and no matter what you tell them to do, they will only do those things if they've experienced essentially the downside of not doing those things until they come to the same realization that you already know because of your experience. And that was kind of always presenting itself. And so, because of essentially my coaches needed so much managing, there was always client issues that I needed to solve because they hadn't solved them for me, even though they had the frameworks and the tools. And every cancellation that ever came through just felt personal, right? Mike, since you've stepped out of the gym and it's this person and not you, this is wrong. This is wrong. And it's like all these things just kept on making me think, what is the point of having all this success on the back end, hitting 18 to 25K months and, providing coaches really great opportunities to coach. But what's the point if it still all rests on my shoulders and my effort? Because nobody gets into owning a business because they wanted a job. They get into a business not so that they can just sit on their arse all day and have something provide them money, but like a business should do so many more things for the business owner than that, right? So look, what ultimately was happening was there was never any room for error, right? Because the entire machine operated on volume. It depended on having X amount of clients in order to keep that thing going. And at the time, I thought the answer was more of everything, right? Because that's like I was in a gym mentorship and that's what they were kind of telling me to do. Well, now you've got all these systems in place, Mike. You need to just run these systems with essentially more oil, right? You've got to put more oil on it to grow the fire of all these systems, and it's just more effort, more hustle, more this, more that. And the strange thing is that you guys will probably already know this, right? You probably already know what I'm talking about because you've probably tried this. You've probably tried to do more marketing, more sales, more members, more programs, more offerings, more coaching, more everything. And I don't know, maybe you've even managed to get to like 100 members, 150. Those targets will always just keep moving because it doesn't get rid of the same problems, right? The same problems persist with the same new milestones of members achieved. And you probably convince yourself that like the stress just feels temporary for the position you're in. Like, oh, I'm only feeling this stress because we're at 120 members, right? That's what I used to tell myself. And then once you hit the next milestone, you think, well, that's when it's I'm going to become less stressed. And it's just not true. That's not how it happens at all. It's not how it works. And so the problem isn't that like you need more members. The problem is that the model is never going to support you needing anything else other than more members. You're always, as long as you're operating on this model, which is what every CrossFit gym specifically, but most gyms operate on. They operate on needing lots of bodies on the floor and in the in the recurring revenue streams. The problem's the model. So what I couldn't see at the time, and that you probably can't either, is that like me and my coaches, or my coaches and I, have become almost like obsessed, right, with coaching rather than delivering value. And there is a difference. And as gym owners, we spend years, right, getting like improving our ability to coach. Especially if you're in the CrossFit space, chances are, if you're anything like me, like you've probably been obsessed with everything that CrossFit told you to be obsessed about, right? So, movement, right? Be obsessed about movement, coaching, cues, certifications, progressions, community, efficacy, the 6 domains of an effective coach, like all these things from the L1 and L2 guides. They were like our doctrine, right? And what that led to, though, is we built our identity around being an excellent coach in the eyes of CrossFit. Okay. Not in the eyes of our members. Our members were maybe like, wow, they know a lot. And this is like something like I've never experienced before in terms of a coach, because we're delivering more, knowledge and delivering more knowledge, probably definitely not much wisdom, but mostly knowledge. And we've unknowingly assumed that's what our clients value too. And it's not. You see, the reason why we valued that is because we were probably aspiring to try and be like CrossFit seminar staff, which is where we found the methodology too. And we thought, wow, they're great. We're going to look up to them. We're going to idolize them. But you see, this isn't what your members value, and they will never value it no matter what they say. Most clients are never going to be able to tell you the difference between a good program and a great program. They might be able to spot a good one from a bad one, but they're not going to spot the difference between a good one and a great one. Only you will be able to do that through your experience. Most clients aren't leaving your gym currently because your program is bad, right? Or your periodization isn't sophisticated enough for them. They might say that. I'd say they're being led by their ego. Most clients don't stay because your coaching cues were just world class, or even that you have the best community despite what they say. They stay because something in their life has changed, or they feel confident that if they stay, the thing in their life that they're wanting to change will change with you, right? And the mistake I made was confusing coaching delivery with transformation. I thought people just needed me to coach consistently for a long enough time and that would lead to transformation, but it doesn't. And that's what I want to teach you today. I thought people were buying fitness, but they weren't. They were buying a future version of themselves that they were hoping to transform into. Okay. So, look, let's think about some client avatars for a second. Most of you will know these clients. They're in your gym. The woman who never felt good enough at home, so she's wanting to feel success somewhere in her life, so she joined a CrossFit gym, right? This is the one that's overly flirtatious with every single other male in the gym. Meanwhile, she has a husband at home, or maybe he's even been in for a few sessions. The man who still needs to showcase his athletic prowess because mentally he never left high school. We all have these types of members in our gym, and we have them in the same service usually, or even in the same class, as the parent who wanted more energy so that they could be better with their children at home, right? Or the mum whose kids have finally left home, and so now she feels like it's okay to spend some time on herself, losing the weight that she gained years and years and years ago that she struggled to get rid of since. See, fitness was the vehicle that these people have chosen to uproot their identity. But the chances are your gym service, whether it be CrossFit or not, has never taught you actually how to package or even coach the level of identity change at that root. And so these people who are here for the wrong reasons, like the two examples I gave prior, are making the people that need you the most kind of feel uncomfortable. And in the CrossFit space, we used to be like, oh, that's the best part of the community because there's people from all walks of life coming together and sharing in fitness. And it's like, underneath the surface, these people are making your potentially best members that are willing to actually spend more if you gave them the opportunity to. They're making them feel uncomfortable and it's keeping them small. This combination of mixed bags of clients paired with neglected business skills and understanding value is why so many gyms are broke. And we're kind of paying the price for idolization of methodology. Red shirts, essentially the people who deliver the methodology to us, we've idolized it. And so we end up then over-servicing the wrong people and we don't solve problems. And in the process, we actually kind of underserve the people that need us most. So you need to recognize that, like, look, transformation is the value, right? But you don't know how to produce that transformation because everyone's needs are different. Or, well, in my gym, everyone kind of makes progress at different rates, right? And like these are the things that you tell yourself to justify the lack of transformation in your members' lives. And we also teach this. We enable people to not transform at the same rate because we say, well, you know, you've only been here for 3 months, or you've only been here for 6 months, or you've been here for 12 months, right? It's like, what is the actual perceived or like the right level of return on investment, right? Or the rate of adaptation, whatever you want to call it. So look, like once I started to see all this in my gym, right? Because I had all these types of different members as well. Some would make progress, some wouldn't, some would do the work, some wouldn't. Once I started to see it all, I sort of changed what I would question in my business. I was like, I can't keep wanting more members because this is just wanting more of the same chaos that I've already got, right? And I started to ask, how can I create more value with the people I've already got here, all right? And the answer is really simple. It's to make it easier and quicker for average Sally to lose the weight that she gained years ago. I'll say that again. It's to make it easier and quicker for average Sally to get what she wants, okay? Now, they're completely different questions, right? One creates pressure. How do I get 100 more members? That's pressure. Whereas, how do I create more value? That's opportunity. That requires creative thinking. I'm gonna have a little drink here. When you shift into create, like, there's a difference. There's a different part of your brain that works when, depending on which question you want to entertain. The how do I get more members is analytical and logical thinking. The how do I create more value is creativity. It's life giving. This is where you get intuitive downloads. This is where you, like, think of it as almost like the God side of your brain. This is where we speak life into ourselves, because we're saying to even to ourselves, well, if you believe in a higher power, you're saying to a higher power, how can I do better with what I have? That's the kind of question that God wants to entertain. And so if you start entertaining that question, you're probably going to get some answers. And that's why I'm giving you the answer here. It's to make it easier and quicker for average Sally to get what she wants out of your gym, rather than focusing on satisfying through your ego what competitive Joe wants from his CrossFit athletes, right? You have to shift your thinking. And so when you start looking start looking at your business honestly, you're going to realize that your clients need far more than just that CrossFit class, right? They need guidance, they need accountability, structure, they need safety. You have to protect them. They need milestones, they need things to like reach for. And it can't be the things that our peers have defined as the standards that we should reach for. It actually has to be something that they set for themselves, because it's probably going to be more aligned to what they want rather than what we want. And that is important. They need someone to help them navigate resistance when motivation disappears, because you know it will at some point. Motivation to grow your business will disappear for you at some point too, right? So like if you haven't got anyone holding your hand and saying like, hey, this is what to do when this happens, like you're not being guided, you're not being supported, and yet you're saying that you offer great coaching. They need someone to help them become the person that they say they want to become, and they're just using you as a vehicle. That's where value lives. It's not in another class on the timetable. It's not in a speciality group. It's not in another certification on the wall. And it's not, well, do next year's open and you'll have something to aim for. It's not any of those things. It's not book another High Rocks. These are things that just satisfy the symptom, but they don't actually create any kind of level of identity change. And I'll be honest, like the world doesn't really need any more High Rocks athletes or CrossFit athletes. We need humble, professional, spiritually grounded folks who are humble, healing, and ready to disciple other people. Like we need people who are, healthy by way of how they conduct themselves in public and how they conduct themselves at home in their families. We don't need people who are performing to gain validation from other people. We need people who are strong in their beliefs, strong in their own kind of like outlook on life. Value lives in helping people create lasting change regardless. When I started building around that, that's actually when everything really started to change in my business. So it does pay to entertain these deeper level things, because this is where the value lies. See, when I started building around the truth, right, my business became really simple. The number of clients dropped, right? Which you're going to be like, oh my gosh, why am I even sitting on this video right now? Here's why. Because my impact doubled. My impact increased like in every way, shape, or form. My revenue per client literally doubled and eventually tripled as I started to get rid of some of the bad eggs in my gym, because I started focusing on delivering more value. And so because my average revenue was going up for clients, that pressure of like, I need more members started to ease, because what my business was showing me was that I could gain more revenue whilst losing clients. And that went against what my brain had been telling me for years, which was I need more clients in order to have more revenue. It's not true. How do I know it's not true? Because I've experienced it. And this is why I'm teaching this back to you. My coaches became uneasy about this as well, because they started to realize that they didn't actually even know how to coach anything that had a greater depth than an L1 or an L2 CrossFit training guide, right? Or the methodology that you currently use in your gym. Suddenly, they started to notice that they too would be found out, right? Because most coaches get into coaching because they like exercising, not because they like helping others change at the identity and the root level, because that's tough work. That's challenging work. That work requires a very different head on your shoulders than the one that just loves Greg Glassman, right? Like, that's the biggest problem, is that, like, this is why gyms can't deliver lasting change for people. And being a fanboy of CrossFit methodology just wasn't going to cut it anymore. Like, we actually had to do more valuable work. And I was prepared to teach them that, but if they're not prepared to learn that, they're going to feel that pressure of, I don't have the skills to stay where this gym is going, right? And it's the opposing one that I have. I had the pressure of, I need more members. But as soon as I figured that out, no, we don't. We need to create more value. That's when that knock-on effect, it has a knock-on effect in your facility. Now, here's the other thing. Some clients didn't like it either, because the shift meant that the root reason why they joined my gym would also have to come up to the surface, because I'm going down at the root and trying to find out why everyone's here and what they need from us so I can create that for them, while some people are trying to hide from that. So like I said, whilst that was happening for the, let's just call them the bad eggs of my gym, the opposite was also happening for everyone else. Whilst some were going like, please don't ask me what I actually want from you, because I've been using these CrossFit classes to hide from my partner at home. Other members were noticing big changes. Mike, the gym feels nicer right now, right? Since those kind of like few left that were real clicky, like, I feel confident coming into the gym right now. Like, I'm actually enjoying coming into the gym more. I didn't want to tell you that I wasn't enjoying it earlier, because I really like what you've got. I just didn't like a few of the people, right? Hey, I've actually been meaning to talk to you about training in my period. How is that linked, and what do I need to do? Like, so many more questions came from some of my longest standing members that they'd never asked me, because they now felt comfortable to, because I was offering them something besides just do what CrossFit says. I was actually saying, hey, I'm more interested in how you show up, your behaviors, your habits, and actually helping you develop into the person that you say you want to become. And so they were like, okay, cool, that's what I'm here for. I want to give you a little bit more information about myself. I remember a dad. Oh, he was ace. This guy was cool. Rob Densley, if you're listening, you were the guy. He was like, Mike, I used to try and keep up with the big boys all the time. He's like, but since they've all left, like, I finally feel like that's not me. Like, I don't want to be trying to recapture my youth, right? In my late 40s, I've got 2 kids. I just want to be better for them. I've got a construction business. I just want to be like switched on for that. I don't feel the pressure anymore to go as heavy. I'm making more progress as well. I didn't think that was going to happen. Why am I able to make more progress lifting lighter weights with a lower intensity, Mike? What's happening to me? This is great. I'm making more progress with less effort, Mike. What's happening? It's like our impact's doubled because we changed our approach to everything in our business. And so, like I said, for years, I thought I needed more people, but what I actually needed to do was just to go into having a greater depth of understanding of the people that I already had who valued my service, right? And most gym owners are sitting on far more value than they realize, but you're just too busy coaching to see it. That's why clients aren't leaving because of your price. They're leaving because they stop seeing value. Or in my case, right, the folks that left when we made some of these changes they were being forced to address the real underlying root reason for joining my gym. And I wasn't going to not allow them to change that and uproot that. So look, the good news is that creating value is easier than creating more members, because it doesn't require you to do anything more. It just requires you to think differently. And even though I had a great life with 40 members and one other coach, after scaling back from having 5 or 6 coaches with 120 members, the improved quality of the transformation my clients actually went through and they were receiving led to a massive referral network that actually worked. I'd never managed to get referrals to work with 120 members. I had to do all the marketing. But when I started driving results for people with like better results with less people, with more revenue, like, people referred, like they couldn't stop referring. We had to kind of be like, hey, we can't take people on because the level of work we're delivering is so consistent that taking on new members was challenging. We actually started increasing the onboarding packages, and at one point it got to I won't take my attention away from any of the current clients I have unless it's going to be someone's going to pay $5,000 up front for a 3-month program. And literally the next day someone did. And I was like, this is blowing my mind, because every preconceived idea that I had about how growth works in the business was being shattered in front of me. So where are we? Like, yeah, instead of what happened then was because like I didn't need new members. It's just that spots became available for membership if somebody needed to leave because they were moving house or whatever was going on, and they were always filled straight away. So look, this is what I do now. I've helped multiple gym owners since, and wellness clinics and medical professionals reimagine their business models, all right, to produce better outcomes for the clients that they have, i.e., increase the value of their service. And the knock-on effect of that is that you're not just going to boost revenue, but you're actually going to have a profit margin if you don't already, right? So typically what happens through this process is you improve how long your current clients actually stay on average, right? And if they're staying for longer, they're usually paying for longer, and they're usually getting more results from you, which is why they refer more. Your marketing, because of that, is going to become real simple, because you're always going to have the same story to be able to tell somebody. Your sales become a lot easier because you're consistently telling the same story. So people actually know what to expect when they come in for that sales consultation. And so that's what I teach. And I would like to have a little stab at teaching you some of that right now so that you know how to do it for yourself. And if you obviously need any more help with that, then you can reach out. But I help gym owners understand a little more about the roots of what they currently do. And like the same thing that your clients need in terms of that like root level identity shift, you need the same thing. So what I'm about to teach you, you actually need to go through first, so then you can teach them, right? And this is the step one. You need to shift your mindset, and this is how we do that. We're going to go to the root level of what coaching even means for a second, which is to guide an individual to the goal, right? To their goal, not your goal, not the goal of CrossFit, not the goal of insert methodology. It's to their goal. So someone comes in and is like, hey, Mike, I want to lose 25 pounds over the next 3 months, right? Okay. As a coach, it's my job to guide you to that thing in that time frame. We pair in our tools and our methodology, so we work out, is that even safe to do so, and we give the structure and we go for it, right? But like, this is the issue. Coaching in the average CrossFit affiliate or even the gym is actually just movement instruction, right? It's work out the day, do this, do it like this, not like this, do it this weight, not like this weight. The top 10% of CrossFit affiliates are offering some kind of nutritional guidance. Some of them have programs, some of them just have guidance, but almost no one is offering transformational coaching at the root level, which is identity, right? It's behavior change. Not many people are coaching behavior change, and it's an essential ingredient in your gym. So ultimately, like I said, you don't have a member problem, you have a value problem, and you'll need to redefine that for yourself if you're actually going to grow your business. So let's take a quick stab at it. If I were to ask you, what does your business currently allow you to do that having a job doesn't, right? If you can answer that question, most gym owners tend to start realizing that they have a job, not a business. Because even though having a business means that, well, you don't have to take answers, or orders from anyone, or you don't have deadlines to meet, the chances are is that like you can't take time off, you can't leave the country, invest in other opportunities. Maybe you can't form partnerships with other businesses or give generously to others as much as you would like to because you have a job and not a business. You're struggling to meet your own financial needs or the business's financial needs. And so it's like you're required in your in your business all the time. And so how valuable, we're trying to redefine value right here. How valuable is it for you to actually have your business? Because even if, and like, this is the point, even if you're bringing in 5 to 10K a month and working maybe 10 to 20 hours in your business a week, like I had success, but like, if you can't breathe or every problem that happens in your business needs you, there's no freedom in that. And that's what a business should produce for you that a job can't, is freedom, right? It should, like, you shouldn't have to deal with every single situation every single day. And so how valuable is your business if you can't do any of those things without something breaking? Not only are your customers not seeing your true value, but your business isn't producing value above having a job, Okay. Like there's plenty of perks that come with a job. Some jobs even can feel like freedom if you have enough perks that come with it. But ultimately, the best, like one of the best things about having like if having a job means that you can switch off at night, right? But if you're having a business that means you can't, like there's no value in that business. You're better off with the job in that sense. So next thing I want to do is I want to ask you, like, what outcome does your service actually consistently produce for clients at month 3? What would you say? If you don't have an answer here, it's because, and maybe your answer is like, well, everyone's different. Then what you're actually saying is that, you know what, we're not aware or clear enough on our value to know when or even how our clients are transforming. And so this is what is going to need to change in your business. So here's what I do for businesses. First of all, I actually help them determine and define the transformation that you are uniquely positioned to produce based on your own experience, expertise, and calling, right? So there is a spiritual element to this, but there's also the element of like, what are you experienced in? What have you actually done? And then what are you actually certified in? It's a combination of things, because even though I was like certified in CrossFit methodology and I had nutrition coaching qualifications and all these other things, what I was uniquely positioned to help people with is actually people who have suffered from trauma in their life, maybe childhood trauma. I was uniquely positioned to help those people. The gym is just a vehicle or a tool that I can use to help those people. I can use some of the things that I've learned through my qualifications, but I can use the same thing that I've experienced to actually help those people specifically, because that's my unique lens and that's what I'm called to do. I didn't go through childhood trauma to just suffer. I've gone through that so that I can teach others back. And it's the same thing for business coaches. I always end up meeting business coaches that have experienced a bunch of childhood trauma or wounds in their relationships, because they're the same things that I've had to go through and learn from so that I can teach behavior change at the root level. So I help coaches kind of get deep on that so they can find a little bit more alignment with what they actually want to do for everyone in this world. And then what we do is we work backwards from that outcome. Okay, so let's say that I want to help people heal, right? Childhood trauma. How I do that is like, well, I start thinking about what are the things they're going to need, right? And this is where my qualifications for like deep health come in. I'm like, well, yeah, they need some kind of like, they need an improvement in their physical health, their mental health, their emotional health, their social health needs to improve, and their existential health and their environmental health all need to improve. That's 6 things that only one of them is turn up to the gym. That's the physical health bit, right? One of them is turn up to the gym. The other 6 things is all talk coaching and helping, right? It's supporting them outside of the gym where they need the most amount of help. The gym is like the 10% of the bigger problem, right? And so that's what we do. We work backwards. What information do they specifically need to know, right, in order to change? That allows us to start outlining the exact milestones that they're going to need to achieve along the way, and what kind of behaviors that they're going to need to adopt, become aware of, what they're going to need to practice, and what they're going to need to demonstrate that they can do by themselves in order to make progress last a lifetime. These are radically different things than giving somebody a nutrition guide and saying, go ahead and go off with it and do what you think. Or, hey, come to my pull-up program, my speciality workshop on pull-ups. It's like, these things aren't going to work. The next thing you do is then you need to fix your pricing for the results and the outcomes rather than just the actual access or time that's needed to, deliver your service. So these are the big things that really restrict your business, your fitness businesses, your wellness businesses from actually delivering healing at the root level for someone's health, because you're failing to probably take into account what's actually needed for these long-term changes. Hopefully, if you go back to some of our client avatars before, you can probably start to see why some people are very triggered by me, right? Like the guy exercising because he hasn't quite mentally left high school yet. It's like I stopped validating that like lifting heavier weights meant that I stopped validating that lifting heavier weights meant you were great. Like if you're lifting heavier weights and you're still a dick, you're still a dick. That's just how it works. But if you're lifting heavier weights and as a result of that, you're becoming a more grounded father at home and your kids are therefore benefiting, there's something much more satisfying in that level of transformation. There's more value in that kind of transformation. It's the same thing, just different outcomes. So you've got to get clear on the outcomes that you are looking to drive in your business, because what's the value of doing this work, right? Why would you do this work? This isn't going to produce more income for you straight away, because this is going to require you to go deep, right? And you might uncover some, uncomfortable things as you go through this process as well. For example, like this is a common one for my clients. We go and fix their pricing and they're like, no one in my area is going to pay that. And it's like, okay, what's coming up for you? That's fear. Why do you believe that people won't value this work at this price? Right? We're stuck in scarcity. You think there's a lack. Where does that come from? What root level behavior, identity, and pattern is showing up for you right now during this process? And it's as you work through these layers for yourself, you'll be able to start working through these layers for your clients in your sales consultations and in your coaching conversations. This is how behavior change works. It's not that your clients, you and your clients need the same work. It's just for a different reason. So this work isn't going to produce money for your time spent yet. So what's the value? Well, the value is that this absolutely can produce, and I've got lots of testimony from other clients, wellness clinics, that this can produce a business that you are no longer a slave to, that pays you significantly more than whatever charge you are currently charging for your time. And it's going to give you something that's actually scalable, because you're not going to be required to be with the person in person to get the transformation that they want, right? This allows you to actually really reposition your core offering to a much higher value service, which means you're required less in all the other services that you used to use in order to boost your revenue. Right? So you're thinking, well, Mike, I'm so busy. I've got all this PT, I've got group, I've got specialty group. I've got to do some sports therapy as well. I've got to do some coaching on nutrition. It's like, hey, that can all be done alongside your core offering where you're not needed. It's 2026. I just taught you all this off a document and a video. Like there's so many things that you can do now, thankfully, because we're in this great age of the internet and AI and all these things. I just built, maybe I'll even link it. I built an AI app that allows you to put in some of your root behaviors that you want to change, and it will spit out where it comes from, why you feel that way, and what actually needs to change at the root level in order for you to change how you show up in the world. So AI is fantastic. So the value is that this could generate you well over 300 grand a year in revenue with an actual profit margin, which has a typo, with an actual profit margin. And you could earn more, you could work less, and your job will be owning a business rather than your business employing you to be the jack of all trades. So here, I told you I had a framework. This is the last little bit, and then I'm going to get out of here for you. But this is essentially the model that you need to be teaching your clients and you need to start using for yourself. So if you've got a block, let's say you're like, I cannot get through having 150 members. It just, every time I get to 149, I drop back down to 120 and the cycle repeats. You have a problem. The problem is rooted in a belief, which is wrong usually because you're going from your conscious belief system, what you believe is the issue about the problem rather than what's in your subconscious. And it stops you from implementing, right? It means that we show up with particular behaviors that we do consistently that don't lead to the outcomes that we want. We struggle to therefore implement. And then essentially when we struggle to implement the behaviors that we want that would change the outcomes, we validate the existing belief that keeps us stuck. So we keep looping back into these same problems because we are not going deep enough at the subconscious level. And this is what you get to teach your clients. So if you have a client with back pain, it doesn't matter how much physical therapy work they do, they will always loop back into back pain if their brain is looping to a subconscious reason as to why they have it in the first place. This is why people who lose weight and then 5 years later, it's all back on. This is why, like I said, pain never goes away despite maybe meeting all the tests. This is why some people start the diet on the Monday. This is why some people continue to join the gym, quit the gym. You need to understand this framework in order to help people best. So let's go a little deeper on this right now. So look, when you've got, let's just say weight loss. Let's say you're going for people who need weight loss, right? They've come to you for weight loss, and you're working backwards from what do they need to know. Look, every time there's a problem, if you want weight loss, the problem is that you obviously cannot lose weight, right? Or that the lifestyle you're leading is leading to weight gain rather than weight loss. So the problem is that there's probably a lot of knowledge that this person doesn't have. So the first thing you need to do is you actually need to arm them with the knowledge that's actually required for them to get to their goal. But secondly, they need to be dead clear on what the desired reality is on the other side, because the desired reality isn't that suddenly because you've lost weight, you're not going to have any problems. The desired reality is that who am I without the weight? And that's scary as hell because you might have to rebuild your identity. And so if you can't be clear about who that new identity is, then you're also not going to get there because you don't know where you're going. There is a metaphysical element to making changes, no matter what change you want to make, whether it be physical, mental, emotional, whatever it is. And so you have to actually give your clients these trainings of like, hey, you need to get really clear on the desired reality that you have after you have to project in the future of what's going to change, because the new reality isn't going to be free of problems. It's just going to be different problems, right? New levels, new devils. Once you've gotten clear on that, you then go into the belief, right? Why does this person believe that, for example, losing weight is hard, or losing weight is going to require, an extraordinary amount of work, or that's going to make that they need to make maybe really complex changes? These are our conscious and subconscious beliefs about why we are the way we are. These things need to be addressed. If they're not, nothing works long term. This is why people relapse. This is why fitness classes, talk therapy, hypnotherapy, acupuncture, CrossFit, high rocks, all these things, somatic exercises, they're all surface level wellness strategies that basically nurse symptoms, and they don't help people change at the root level. Once you pull these up, once you understand, and I'm sure lots of coaches on here have probably had this, right? Especially if you're coaching weight loss. Well, yeah, childhood was maybe a little bit stressful. And what my mum used to do for us to make us feel better about our life was that every night after school, we would go and get a McDonald's, or we would go and get chocolate, or we'd go and get this. And mum would say, this will make you feel better. So now as an adult, what I do is every time I don't feel good, I'm led by my emotions, I reward myself with chocolate, right? These are the subconscious patterns that we have existing in our lives that keep us stuck in the places that we are. We have them in our business, we have them in our relationships, we have them in our health, we have them in our finances, we have them everywhere. So you have to heal at the root level, and this is how you do it. I've popped in here the best ways to do that. You do need an act of faith of some kind. It doesn't have to necessarily be in God, but think about this: is like most people put their faith in having the problem that they have, right? Well, I'm just like this. That's how I've always been, and that's why I struggle, because there's something wrong with me. You have faith in that, you will always have the same problem. And that's what stops you from moving into implementation. See, when you unlock it, when you have more faith that you can solve your problem, because now you're more aware of it and what's feeding the problem, you can start to choose consciously better behaviors. These are the opposite behaviors that you have been operating for in the past. So, for example, if I'm in my business wanting 100 clients and I'm thinking I need to market more and more and more, right? The belief that I have that underpins that was, well, that's the only way to drive revenue up. And that's not true. My new behavior became, how can I create more value? And that required me going deeper rather than trying to hustle more. It's a complete opposite direction to where I was trying to go previously. And once we do that, we start to practice it more and more and more, right? I keep entertaining that question. How can I help this person more? How can I do more for this person? And what happens is the more I entertain that question and I do new things, I find evidence of change in my outcome, in my reality. Like I said, the evidence that I had for creating more value is better than chasing more members was that I got less members, but my revenue skyrocketed. So my evidence was clear as day in the face that this is the way to go, right? Because I saw change, positive change. And it is your responsibility to see that and to choose to see that. And that is ultimately what shifts identity so that I can become, for example, the calm, grounded, healed version of myself that I am now, rather than the panicked, anxiety-ridden, fearful business owner that I used to be then, right? I'm not desperate for clients. It's more like, hey, if I can help you, then we're going to be aligned and we're going to do some great work, and I can't wait to do that. It's this valuable. So now it's over to you, but like this is the value of that thing, and I'll be really excited to work with you, right? That is what helps you dissolve blocks in you and your clients' issues. So, team, thank you for sticking with me through this training. If you liked any of this and you want to go deeper, look, here's the great thing: you can do this for yourself, right? You literally have the know-how. I'm sure at some point, if you stick around with my content long enough, there will be ChatGPT prompts that you can use to help backward engineer and create better programs that assist your clients with the thing that you want them to do. But ultimately, you guys can reach out, and I will absolutely be thrilled to help you through whatever it is that you're currently blocked in with your business. I hope you found value in this, and I will. I look forward to reach out, give me a comment, give me a like or something, share it if it was valuable, but just let me know if you found value in this. Like I said, this is what's helped myself. I turned my business into, I still was hitting 25K months off like 40 clients. It was wild. And so you can do the same in your business, and I'd love to help you do that. See you in the next one. Bye.